With the NHL entry draft coming up towards the end of this month, I wanted to get out my mock draft a little bit early and not just do it last minute right before the draft. So that's what I'm going to be doing in today's video. I'm going to be giving you guys my 2018 NHL mock draft. Feel free to let me know down in the comment section where you think these players will end up, and let's jump right into the video. At number 1, going to the Buffalo Sabres, I have Rasmus Dahlin. I don't think you're going to get any arguments out of anybody if you choose him going number 1 overall. He really is been projected to go number 1 this whole entire year, and that has never changed. He's 18 years old, and he's playing for Frölunda in the Swedish Elite League. He had 20 points in 41 games. But he's a defenseman, and he's only 18 years old, and he's been playing in this league since he was 16, so he's really just fantastic. He's said to be a generational type defenseman, so the Buffalo Sabres have to be very happy with finally winning the draft lottery and getting a generational talent. I really do think he's going to impact his team right away, so obviously I just have to go with Rasmus Dahlin going number 1. At number 2, I have Andrei Svechnikov going to the Carolina Hurricanes. They have to be just so happy that they jumped into the top 3 of the NHL draft, getting the second pick, and going to be just adding on to the impressive young talent group that they already have. And in my opinion, they're going to draft Andrei Svechnikov. Played for the Barrie Colts in the 17-18 season, put up 72 points in 44 games. I think this guy has the potential to be a lethal scorer in the NHL, and a guy that can put up around 70 to 80 points. A fantastic guy on the power play, and he has good vision for a guy who's really counted on as a goal scorer. So I think going with Andrei Svechnikov is going to be a very good selection for the Carolina Hurricanes, and ultimately I do think that is who they're going to draft. Next up at number 3 is the Montreal Canadiens. Now they really do have to get more forward depth because most of the offense has been relied on Jonathan Drouin, and that really I think is putting a little bit too much pressure on him. And I think another Halifax move said Filip Zadina could complement Drouin fantastically, and that is who I think they're going to draft. Obviously, I've seen a lot of articles saying that the options for the Montreal Canadiens at the draft are wide open, so I don't know what that means, if it means they're potentially want to trade their pick or keep it, or maybe even not draft Filip Zadina, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I have seen some mock drafts saying Brady Tkachuk is going to go to Montreal, or even Adam Boqvist moving up into the top 3, but ultimately I think Filip Zadina is the safest pick for the Montreal Canadiens to go with. I think he's NHL ready right away. He has a good size, good frame, and he put up 82 points in 57 games with the Halifax Mooseheads, and he stood out very well at the World Juniors playing for the Czech Republic, so I think Filip Zadina would be a fantastic fit for the Montreal Canadiens. Going 4th overall to the Ottawa Senators, I have Brady Tkachuk. Now, I think this all depends on what they want to do with Erik Karlsson heading into next season. If they do want to get rid of him, then I could certainly see them drafting a guy like Boqvist to get another defenseman to maybe take over that blue line and help out Thomas Chabot. But ultimately, I really do think they're going to hold on to Erik Karlsson. Not really necessarily what I think is the best decision, but I do think is what they're going to do, so I could see them drafting Brady Tkachuk. I've seen a lot of mock drafts have him going 4th or 3rd, and some even have him falling way down, so it's really going to be interesting to see where Tkachuk goes. A lot of people say the top 4 is solidified, and that is really what I'm going by as well. For Boston University this year, in 40 games, he had 8 goals and 23 assists for 31 points. He's not really liked around because of his last name. Matt Tkachuk is one of the more chippy players in the NHL, but ultimately I think he's going to be a fantastic player, and I do think that is who the Ottawa Senators are going to draft. Going 5th overall to the Arizona Coyotes, I have Adam Boqvist. Now, in my opinion, he is the second best defenseman in this draft, a draft that really has filled with a lot of fantastic talent at the blue line, but I really do think that is who the Arizona Coyotes are going to draft. I've seen some mock drafts having him at number 4 to the Ottawa Senators, and I've seen some having him down around 10 to the Edmonton Oilers, but ultimately I think he is going to go 5th. I think this is what the top 5 is going to look like, because I think he is the safe pick over the rest of the defensemen in the draft. And if you're Arizona, you just want to keep on adding to that solid blue line that you're developing. Obviously, you have Ekman Larsson, Chychrun, and then adding a guy like Boqvist, who I think could step in and play some minutes in the NHL right away, would be a solid pick for the Arizona Coyotes organization. Ultimately, there's a lot of trade rumors going around with Max Domi and stuff, so maybe if you do trade him, you're going to want to add some more forward depth. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, but I think they're going to draft Adam Boqvist. Now 6th, my Detroit Red Wings, I have them drafting Quinn Hughes. Now, I actually just seen an article that said Detroit is open to trading their 6th overall pick, and I'm really hoping that is not the route they go, because I think just drafting a guy like Quinn Hughes would be the best thing you can do for the future of your team. They really seem like they don't want to embrace the rebuild. They want to keep staying competitive, and trading this pick, I feel like they could probably mess things up and maybe get a guy that isn't very young and just a solid player, but I really don't want them to trade the pick. I want them to draft Quinn Hughes. He's 18, played for the University of Michigan, and he had 29 points in 37 games, and doing that in college as a defenseman is some very good numbers. He's a fantastic skater, an awesome puck-moving guy, and he can get the puck going in transition very, very fast, as well as any defenseman in this draft probably. So I think Quinn Hughes is a safe pick for Detroit to go with, and I think they do need a defenseman. If you want to go with the best overall player in the draft when you pick, maybe I could see them drafting Wahlstrom, but I really do think they need a defenseman, so I think they're going to go with Quinn Hughes. At number 7, to the Vancouver Canucks, I have them drafting Noah Dobson. Now, Dobson is a guy who has increased his draft stock tremendously after the Memorial Cup. He played fantastic for Bathurst, ultimately winning them the Memorial Cup. He had 69 points in 67 games this season for Bathurst. He's a fantastic offensive defenseman, and I think his defensive game is a little bit more advanced than Evan Bouchard's is, and that's why I have Dobson going ahead of Bouchard, because I think Dobson's two-way game is a lot more developed so far and at a young age than Bouchard's is. I think Bouchard has a potential to maybe even be a bust, so I think the safe pick for the Vancouver Canucks is Noah Dobson, and like I said before with Detroit, if they want to go with maybe the overall best player, I could see them drafting Wahlstrom. But I think right now, I think it would be in the Vancouver Canucks' best interest to draft another young, solid defenseman, so that's why I have them taking Noah Dobson with the 7th pick. Now going 8th overall to the Chicago Blackhawks, I have Oliver Wahlstrom. Now I think Chicago has to be ecstatic that Wahlstrom drops this far if he does end up doing that, because I think he would be a fantastic fit for this team. It seems like they found just diamonds in the rough on the offensive end, and this is the first time in a while they've had a top draft pick. And with all these defensemen going ahead of Wahlstrom, I think he really is maybe a little bit overshadowed by some of the talent in this draft. I think he has the potential to be fantastic. In the USHL, he put up 45 points in 26 games, so those are some very good numbers for Wahlstrom. There was a lot of comparisons of him and Tkachuk, and I even seen some people's mock drafts having Wahlstrom going ahead of Matt Tkachuk, but I don't see that happening. I do see Wahlstrom dropping back this far unless Detroit or Vancouver scoops him up, but ultimately I do think he could go to Chicago, and I think he could play in the NHL right away for this team. So I think Chicago would be ecstatic if they're able to draft him, and I really do think that is what's going to happen if Wahlstrom is still available with the Blackhawks pick. Next up, we have the New York Rangers. I have them drafting Evan Bouchard. I've seen a lot of mock drafts that have Bouchard going up to the Detroit Red Wings or maybe even the Arizona Coyotes. I've seen one that had him going ahead of Adam Boqvist, and I really don't agree with that. I think there's a lot of concerns with Evan Bouchard because he's really a one-dimensional defenseman, in my opinion, at this point in his career. I think he has the potential to be fantastic because you could develop that game over time. This season he had 87 points in 67 games for the London Knights, so obviously you can tell he's a fantastic young offensive defenseman. And I think, with Brady Shea and obviously trading Ryan McDonough, I think adding to that blue line wouldn't be the worst decision for the New York Rangers to make. So I have them drafting Evan Bouchard because I think that would be a fantastic fit to go along with the young talent on that blue line already with Brady Shea. So that's really where I think Evan Bouchard could go. I really could see him maybe even going up a little bit, but I really don't know. He's kind of the guy who's a wild card in this draft to me, so I have him going 9th to the New York Rangers. And lastly, we have the 10th overall pick, the Edmonton Oilers. I have them drafting Ty Smith because obviously they really don't have the best defense core in the world, and I think if you had a guy like Ty Smith to go along with Darnell Nurse, Clefbaum, and Adam Larson, he really could complement them well. He had a great season in the WHL for the Spokane Chiefs, 73 points in 69 games. He's 18 years old, and I've seen a lot of drafts him going out of the top 10, but I think he is going to stay in the top 10. Obviously, we see a lot of defensemen getting drafted here in the top 10, so it is a great year if your team needs a defenseman, which a lot of these teams do. Edmonton, obviously, is one of the worst defensive teams in the NHL this past season. Detroit in desperate need of a defenseman, so I really do think that is how the top 10 is going to look. I only did the top 10 because that's really who I'm familiar with, so I really do see the Edmonton Oilers drafting Ty Smith, if available, at the number 10 spot. So that is going to wrap up the video. I really hope you guys did enjoy. Again, sorry for only doing the top 10. That's just really who I'm familiar with, and when it gets out of the top 10, it's kind of just a guessing game from there. So make sure to let me know down in the comment section where you think these guys are going to end up. If you agree, if you disagree, make sure to let me know all that. So like I said, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure you go down, hit the like button, and subscribe to the channel for daily NHL content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.